7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Can I get any discussion?
I'll just abstain because I wasn't.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. Citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens this evening? Young children and the school teachers that were murdered by an animal down in Texas, and it's very disturbing when you see kids or anybody, but especially kids, have something like that happen to them. And I just hope that that never happens in our community. Okay, department head reports. Mr. Rivas.
We have pickleball for beginners only. So if anybody wants to try this out,
Who the rest is want to sign up.
this is for adults, but it can be for adults and families. We have had some families coming in. We have introduction to pickleball. The next one is June 26th. We've had seasoned pickleball players volunteer their time and have been introducing pickleball to a lot of new people in the community. There's also open play for beginners. We've dedicated the courts on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings and Sundays late afternoon for beginners only, so that they can play in an environment where they're a little less intimidated. We have pickleball for kids coming up at the end of June. Those will be every Saturday for 5 weeks. 10, 11, and 12-year-olds begin at 9 a.m. and 13, 14, 15-year-olds at 11. And then they too will have some open play immediately following those introductory sessions. This is all free. We have kickball for the kids coming up. A couple of 4-week sessions starting at the end of June. 10, 11, 12-year-olds will be Tuesday evenings beginning June 30th, starting at 6 p.m. And 13, 14, 15-year-olds will be Thursdays, again, starting at 6 p.m. And those are 4-week sessions.
Kevin, on that pickleball for kids, do you provide the equipment?
We are providing equipment, providing paddles and balls for the kids.
Mr. Sweethead.
I would just like to thank and ask the public at the same time. Radisson was a whirlwind with paving, the chip sealing through the Speech and the Byron track. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things that can be distracting. I just ask that, really acknowledge the flag person or whoever it is that's directing you through traffic so that, so that everybody stays safe. But I do want to thank, because I know there was a lot of equipment in the way, and we had to split it up because of the rain, so.
Okay. Mr. Yeager.
So I want to do a quick synopsis of our annual MS4 report that's mandated by the DEC. That report was submitted yesterday. 6 minimum control measures. Minimum control measure 1 is public education, which we partner with the Stormwater Coalition on. They've done a great job. A ton of publications in papers, websites. They did I believe it's 17 individual training sessions for contractors and professionals last year. Minimum control measure 2 is public outreach. We're trying to find more effective ways to outreach the public and notify them about concerns with stormwater. We did a survey in 2021 through the CNY Stormwater Coalition. And we're starting to implement some of those changes for 2022 now. Minimum control measure 3 is illicit discharge detection and elimination. We had one reported illicit discharge last year that really just ended up being iron sulfide in spring water coming out of the ground. Looked like rusty water coming out of the ground, so not an illicit discharge. Minimum control measure 4 is stormwater maintenance, stormwater pond maintenance and inspection. For construction sites, we have 42 active speedies permits open for construction in the town. We had 21 sites that were, or 17 sites that were active last year, and 5 new permits that were filed. We issued 2 notices of violation last year that were corrected. Minimum control measure 5 is stormwater maintenance from the town side of our facilities. We did perform maintenance on 1 pond, in addition to that, mowed all of our stormwater management areas last year. Minimum control measure 6 is good housekeeping, street sweeping, cleaning catch basins. The guys did complete a street sweeping log. We did not get any logs for catch basins, so it did not log any catch basin cleanings for last year. With all this being said, there is going to be a new MS4 permit that is adopted most likely in November of this year. That is going to significantly increase our burden from a record keeping standpoint and a maintenance standpoint. We're going to be mandated to sweep all of our streets twice a year. We're going to be mandated to, at least for the first three years of the permit, being mandated to clean every one of our catch basins and log the amount of sediment that, clean and inspect every one of our catch basins and log and the amount of sediment that we take out of them. So we have a significant burden upcoming from a record keeping and maintenance standpoint that we're going to have to work with the highway department to overcome.
And now, these are EPA regulations?
Well, they're EPA that are mandated back to the DEC, and the DEC pushes them down to us.
Unfunded mandate?
Correct.
When does that start?
I believe the permit will end up being effective, well, depends on, they've delayed it for 2 years now. Right now, public comment closes in, it's very close. Like, I think the first couple days of June here, public comment for the draft permit closes. They've said that they are going to have the new permit be effective by November.
not to belabor this, but what are they gonna do with all this data?
And where are we gonna put the sediment?
Well, so it's not hazardous waste, so it's a concern of a pollutant, from a pollutant standpoint, but as long as there's not oils or chemicals in it, it's non-hazardous waste. Just build a sediment pond, dump your vac truck, let the water leach out of the sediment pond, leave the solids behind. Really, most of what's left behind is pretty good topsoil. You can screen it and repurpose it as a beneficial use material as topsoil. So to send that vac truck out, basically you're sending 3 guys. You're gonna have 1 guy flagging, doing traffic control, and 2 guys running the vac truck. And you know, we've about 1,780 catch basins at last count.
1,700. So it sounds like a scheduling thing.
Yeah.
And the thing, the one
Cheaper to
comment-
outsource it. There's companies out there like I know.
Rent, vac truck rental is about $250 now. It's really,
That's right.
It's older, and that's, like I said, I'll have to work on that, but the containment from one, usually you fill up the truck and then hook up it. If we're gonna have to take out and only measure the sediment that was in the one,
I think the only way to do that is we're gonna have to put a stick to the bottom of the catch basin, bring it up, measure how much mud's on it, and then figure out a volume that way, because we're not gonna dump every
Yeah.
catch basin. We're gonna have to do it volumetrically by suck the water off, measure the depth, measure the diameter or area of the structure, and then
'Cause they're all
quantify
about
it that
the
way.
same size, right? Catch basins.
Well, it depends. No, not necessarily.
I mean, but you don't have 1,700 different size catch basins.
No. But yeah, so it's all gonna be part of the program. It's a pretty big mandate.
1,700 twice a year.
Well, once a year. No, they sweep the streets twice a year, which we're only doing once now. And we're supposed to, at least for the first 3 years of the permit, clean every catch basin every year to find areas where we have significant sediment so that we can give them a higher maintenance priority.
1700 that's
I think it's 1780 and
closer.
change, but it's, yeah.
It's definitely closer to 18 than 17.
Bob, to answer your question, is it 2007? The back truck.
So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, it's probably,
It's actually very well maintained. We did have to just
Replaced something on it recently, right?
Yeah.
Because last time I was there, something broke on it.
Yeah, there's 2
you sell it?
metal balls, and they're not the
Enough, there's not enough
that
water.
prevent water from getting into the exhaust or into the intake. And it's in a cage, and the cage just rotted, so when they dumped it, the ball came out, and they kind of looked at it, oh, that's never seen that before. So it was just a matter of cleaning off the metal and repairing it, but yeah, it was.
that's probably something when you look at your budget this year, probably gonna really go through that. If you're gonna have to do that many catch basins, that's gonna be working every day for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna,
And they scream.
I mean, they can do 12 a day, 12, 13 a day.
That's a street.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
it'd be
a-
nice if I could
60
see
a
them
week.
clean though. It's only half of your work?
if you're solely dedicated to
Yeah.
it, that's, I don't.
You're gonna have people dedicated to it almost year round.
Well, I mean, at least in the summertime months, obviously, you can't really,
No, I-
and on days when it's raining hard,
Right.
you're not doing that work.
Right.
You just can't keep up with the flow, you're wasting your time.
You're looking at 9 months, you're doing it almost daily. I mean, that's it. Yeah. So.
And well, unfortunately, I don't know if the final version of the permit will be published before budget time. But we're, Ken had mentioned the possibility of asking for a couple full-time seasonal laborers next year. That would be a good use for those positions.
Yeah, I don't see how you get around it.
That's a lot of catch basins.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Ms. Falcone?
I don't know if you want me to talk about it now, but motion A, maybe you want me to elaborate on that a little bit, or if you'd like
Yes.
to, or?
Yep.
Okay. So, if you've read the agenda, motion A is to hold a public hearing to place, to make a local law for no parking signs to be placed on a portion of Hayes Road, on the north side of Hayes Road. What this all stemmed from was, and this is full disclosure, I also work for the Seneca River Fire Department, so I kind of have, you know, an in over there with everybody. So I attended a special workshop meeting where they had discussed a recent event where there were people parked on both sides of the road at a certain establishment, and there was an alleged drunk driver who allegedly hit cars on either side of the road because they were parking on both sides. So the main concern was if an emergency vehicle needed to get down that road, that they wouldn't be able to get down that road. So they came to the town and they're requesting a local law to put parking signs on a portion of that road. There are some parking signs already up, but they're all, I talked to you kind of about this, they're all like faded and
I don't know what happened, but I think Steve ordered quite a few. And that's a county road. I mean, I'll work with them to put the signs up for sure. But I went down there, I think it was last week.
yeah.
And it looked like dominoes. There was so many.
Yeah, they're like right there. Boom,
Can we,
boom, boom,
I didn't think about this. This is a county road.
This is a county
This is
road.
a
We
county
have
road.
to, I spoke with the representative from the county, and even though it's a
I
county
didn't
meeting,
know- I thought it was a town road. We can't do that.
We plow it, okay.
you can put signs up. Yes,
No parking?
yes. I spoke with our
But are you,
contacted county.
is this public hearing, I mean, the sign placement, is it on both sides of the road?
No,
Or is it on
no,
one
just
side?
gonna be on one
north
side
side.
of the road.
On side, yeah.
So is the county willing, so the county's not willing to help us with the sign?
She said that our highway department has to do it.
No.
Because it would be our law.
Well, it's a local law, it's gonna be in our code, and it'll be, now we can have it enforced, the sheriffs and troopers can enforce it.
But here was my question about that, right? There's no parking signs there already, even though they're not enforceable. There's cars parked on both sides today. People are they're not gonna care about the signs, they're gonna park there regardless. You're not gonna be able to tow the cars, you're just gonna be able to pick them.
Yeah.
No, they
And
can
then-
tow them. They can tow them. If you gotta look, if the signs up there now, I think they aren't.
They're private,
They're
private.
But-
so they can't be enforced by the.
Right, but my thing is people aren't listening to them anyways. Now, has anyone talked to the business owner as well too? Because this may cripple his business as well too, because I know after 10 o'clock, everyone leaves anyways because of the noise ordinance.
Well, I'm gonna send public hearing notices to all of the residents and businesses along Hayes Road, so that they are aware that they wanna come and talk about that, they're more than welcome to. Just to be fair.
I know, this is just for a public hearing,
Yeah.
I'm all in favor of
This
it.
is
Oh,
just-
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying.
Well,
you know.
and I mean, it's, if fire trucks and ambulances can't get down that road,
Wait,
then that's,
Seneca River Fire Department's asking for this, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a safety issue. The same thing, similar to what we do in Radisson for the garage sale. If
Yes,
no parking
yeah.
on certain streets.
And that
or
should be
certain sides.
enforced, yeah.
So, you know, emergency vehicles can get up and down the roads if needed.
The real issue is, can we get it enforced?
Right,
That's because they'll continue to park there until they start getting ticketed.
right,
Right.
right.
That's
So someone would have to call it, or someone have to patrol it, or some, you know, but,
we can make the sheriff's department aware of the signs.
And hopefully they write them to the town.
Right.
Well, they
It's in our town code, so.
yeah, it'll be part of the
Should
code.
write.
So that's where that all stemmed from.
So just, if this, if we pass this, if you send the sheriff's department the code, they'll put it in all the computers so all the cars have it.
Okay.
So if they run it out for town of Lysander, they'll know
Okay.
to write it on this. The state police, I don't believe, write for town codes.
Okay,
So it would just be the sheriff's department.
okay. You have a contact there I can write to?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay. Move on to the regular agenda items. We have a motion to hold a public hearing on June 16, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Lysander Town Hall for a proposed local law to amend Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 295, Article 4, 295-28. This will authorize no parking signs to be placed 1/8 of a mile south of Route 370 intersection north on Hayes Road.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion? Oh,
And motion B,
Yep,
can we just postpone that until the next meeting?
you want to table it?
We had an agreement that we fashioned until.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The problem is we got a last minute request by the village attorney. He talked to somebody from Rotary and he wants to make sure they're on board. It's nothing major, but
Yeah, okay.
rather than pass it and then have to start over again.
Yeah. All right, we'll table,
It's in time for the first event is not till June 28th, so. Yeah.
all right, we'll table motion B.
Yeah.
Motion C, may I have a motion to approve the budget modification form provided by the town comptroller to transfer $8,188.96 from Parks and Recreation account number A007-110-102 and $2,142.62 from Parks and Recreation account A007-310-109 to Parks and Recreation account A007-110-103.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
What's this for? And what are these different accounts? I mean, I know it's within the parks, but what's it?
So the first account, the $8,100, that is the account number where our full-time and part-time laborers are paid out of. So Jim, Mary, and part-time position, which was David Sitar. So this 8,100 is money from the savings with the resignation of David Sitar. The 2142, that account, the 109, that is money from its professional services for recreation programs. What we're doing is taking those money from those two accounts, moving it into this 103 account, which is where our park attendants are paid out of, and where the recreation leader will get paid out of. So what we're doing is we're putting all the money into one location to pay out of.
Without increasing the budget.
Correct. Does nothing to the budget.
So this is a change of program, Kevin, that recreation leader, this is something new?
So with the resignation of the part-time laborer, David Sitar, I sat on that one for a while and thought about it and decided to go with a different direction than what we were doing with the part-time laborer. Jim and Mary insisted to me that they could do it without a part-time laborer. And I see that we can utilize a seasonal, it'll be full-time hours throughout the season, throughout the summer months, so it's still considered a seasonal part-time position. We can get more benefit out of an individual that can plan and lead some recreation programs, and will also fill some need at the park attendant position whenever needed.
Do we have any programs?
And that's what this individual is going to be doing too, is helping to create more programs and then run them.
Sign up for the Zumba classes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someone didn't promote it very well, did they?
So this doesn't set you short in maintenance?
No.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize submission of Form RS 2417-A, Standard Workday and Reporting Resolution for elected and appointed officials to the New York State and Local Retirement System for Highway Superintendent Kenneth Sweetek.
I'll move it.
Any discussion? Okay, this is something that we have to have. The state has to have it because Mr. Sweetek is in the retirement system, so it's a required document that he has to fill out for them. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the letter of intent authorizing the CNY Stormwater Coalition to apply for a New York State DEC Water Quality Improvement Grant application for a MS4 mapping project that will be a requirement of a new New York State DEC MS4 storm sewer operations permit.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the Barton & Judas proposal in the amount of $6,200 for the New York State DEC mandated 2022 second quarter Lysander landfill baseline monitoring assistance.
I'll move it.
I will second that.
Any discussion? I take this as just what we have to do yearly for the landfill. Okay.
It's a little higher than last year. You'll notice every 3 years we have to do a baseline sample, which includes metal samples. The lab work for the biggest increase is the Barton & Judas fee is actually the same, it has been for 3 years now. The lab costs keep going up on us. Barton & Judas actually stopped 2 other labs this year trying to get us better rates on the lab costs. And we ended up right back where we started. They were still the same. So that lab gave us the best price, and it's I think it's the chemical cost for the testing is what it amounts to. Is the cost of raw materials now is higher, so our cost of bottles is higher, everything else.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. We're going to table motion G. Motion H, to approve the budget modification form provided by the town comptroller for highway department transfers for the CHIPS program, road construction improvements, and road maintenance.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. We are going to amend motion I, so instead of purchasing 2 Western Star, it's going to be 1, and the price will be for the one, $252,945. So, let me read that, I'm sorry. May I have a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to sign the proposal to purchase 1 2024 Western Star 47X single axle truck with the Henderson plow package in the amount of $252,945, subject to mid-year manufacturer's retail price increases.
I'll move it now.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to accept the grant award in the amount of $1,500 from the Ballsville Kiwanis Club for the benefit of the GEMS Plus camp?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay. I said, okay, that's a motion, sorry. Oh, no, we didn't.
Skip J.
Skip J, but we can
We'll come back.
go back.
Oh, you know what? I had, I don't know how I.
You crossed it off because.
Yeah, I crossed it off earlier, okay. Well, we didn't get a motion on that one yet, let me move back. May I have a motion to amend the MS4 form pavement management plan to include the roads in the town of Lysander 2022 pavement management plan part 2 with all work funded by the state touring route and paid New York programs.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? So, we received additional monies in the amount of almost $500,000, which we are, this motion is looking to allocate to the Highway Department to do additional work that we weren't able to do earlier. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. I had a check there. We have a motion to accept the grant award in the amount of $1,500 from the Ballsville Kiwanis Club for the benefit of the GEMS Plus camp. I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Want to explain that, Mr. Member?
So the Kiwanis Club has a grant program, for a variety of different programs and reasons. I had learned of this after we had already pretty much had registration on that and that started for GEMS Plus. I completed their, and this was based on previous years where the Kiwanis grant was applied for and awarded from. I completed it and submitted the application to Kiwanis. Leslie Cartier, who's running the GEMS Plus camper, and I met with Kiwanis Club, explained the whole program and what the money benefits. They awarded us $1,500 that will go towards this year, and money towards some scholarships for next year as well.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. I have a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the amended addendum to the Bonadeo and Company LLP engagement letter dated December 6, 2021 to allow the change of fee estimate based on the extent of additional services requested.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
And that was the contract that they explained last week that I didn't send. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I was reading their letter. I don't like how they put in their refusal assistance by employees in there.
Okay.
To me, if I was a business doing a proposal to another business, I wouldn't write that in there, especially if I'm working with that business, right? So I'm not for agreeing to this, and I'll oppose this, but
Do you have that in front of you?
No,
I think,
Yeah, I got it.
yeah. I think we have a comptroller in place already that needs to know how to do this. This is my opinion.
Where is that letter, Jeff?
It says right here,
It's on,
refusal of assistance by employees, etc.
should we identify barriers to completing procedures within the anticipated fee amount, such as missing documentation, refusal of assistance by employees, etc. Stop our work and discuss with you to determine the appropriate path forward.
Yeah, I don't like that language in the contract.
Is this to do with what the work session the meeting I missed when we
Yeah.
discussed their
Meeting that I set up a long time ago so that specifically for you,
Right.
that you haven't been.
Right.
And then you had to go on vacation for it.
But I had
I listened to it. Yeah.
I had to do it ahead of time with them because, you know, and I didn't know.
Oh, no, that's fine. It sounds like they're setting up a system, a checklist for us to account for money, so we make sure the right money's coming in from developers and
Yes,
we're appropriating monies.
yes.
But
That's
Totally
part of
reading
it, yeah.
I mean,
it's just,
But as an employee of, you know, I mean,
they're just giving examples of why they could, if there's a
Right, but-
barrier, that could be a barrier, what they're saying. Is that if an employee refuses to assist them, they could stop work.
Right, which isn't going to happen.
I know, I just wanted to see, I just don't like that in there.
I just wonder, how hard is this for us to come up with this ourselves? I mean, it seems fairly straightforward on,
No,
asking
this
people for
one-
escrows and making sure we get paid. And I know in the past, in lieu of parks fees weren't paid, and we tackled that debacle a few years back. So I'm just coming in new to the game, how this isn't written down already.
I think what they had originally talked about was developing a system. We don't have a good system right now. In terms of projects, when things start, stop, and how much money is put in, it's kind of been, helter-skelter. I think what they're talking about is devising a system so that the cell tower comes in, we know exactly how much money they have to pay, it goes into an account, it gets approved by, whether it's the planning board or whatever. Everybody's going to see what that project is.
But I thought our laws that we wrote for those kind of things pretty much lay out the timeline.
It does. The bottom line is this got followed up with the previous comptroller sending checks back to developers because she didn't understand what they were for. And now we're not getting those developers that are giving us responses and aren't paying us. We got nothing to hold over their head at this point in time. We gave them their approvals. The comptroller sent the check back to them. We've agreed to a numbering system that we're going to go to for accounting for these things for each individual project. That's what the confusion is right now. It is purely because the person that was previously in the comptroller role didn't understand what was going on, so she just started sending money back.
Well, there's also a problem with the example they gave, if you have a building, and the builder is building a development, and it's in his name, and then maybe the builder has another project, we have a couple like that, has another project that part owner of, and then there's another area that maybe that same builder is an investor in it. So sometimes that builder will send in checks, and then it'll be for they don't know what it's for. They're sending a check for $400 or whatever, and it'll come in that person's name, and then that's not the project. It's even though that person has an interest in it, somehow it's getting convoluted, and the money, to track the money to ensure that the money is being, first of all, being collected, and then tracked properly and accounted for, so when they do send the money in, they need to, and that's why they were here, they explained that. I'm not doing a great job explaining it now, but they explained why you have to do that, and we don't have that now.
Right.
We don't have.
I think we got a numbering system. I think between Jen and I, we worked out a numbering system that'll work. To spend $8,500 to come up with a numbering system that'll work doesn't make sense.
Well, I look at the planning board chairman, he has a clerk or planning board secretary or clerk. I think we have the people in the places that are supposed to be taking care of this.
Well,
I just don't know why we need an outside firm telling us how to do what we should know already how to do.
because that wasn't being done, and that's part of their, we didn't, when we changed comptrollers, good accounting practices would say you should come in and do a full-blown audit. We didn't do that in lieu of doing exactly what we're doing here. So we're not spending, if we did a full-blown audit, I forget the number they put up, but it was pretty high. We don't need to do that because they have access to all our accounts, because what they're doing is going through now, taking a look at, they're looking at all of our accounts to come up with policies and procedures to make sure that all these things are being accounted for correctly. And we found a number of things that, you know, if you look at the lighting district, there's a problem there. If you look at the water district up in Phoenix, there's a problem there. I mean, I can go on and on. There's a number of things that needed correcting. Now, not only are they take a look at that book so they can say, okay, this money's being accounted correctly for, so it's essentially, they're doing an audit, but they're also providing expertise on best practices moving forward. So it's not just Jennifer coming in, it's Jennifer working with Bonadeo to say yes, and together, like Al said, together they're working on these processes to have them in place because they weren't in place before. That's how these things were getting missed. And that's what I told them. I said, I want one procedure that everybody, when we get through, they're gonna have one checklist and everybody's gonna sign off on it, whether they have anything to do with it or not. And that's what they're doing on top of evaluating our current accounts.
So can I'm a little confused. It's clear as a bell that we had a problem, and I totally get what you're saying, Bob. But am I also hearing from Al and Jennifer that you can do this without fire there?
I don't see why we can't. I really don't see why we can't.
Jennifer's not here.
Okay?
I
didn't
just
think
don't-
we were gonna need her, so
I just don't, I don't see, I mean, it's a crazy number for me to wrap my head around for the amount of work that this is gonna take.
Can we table this for a week?
Yeah, like,
I'd be comfortable.
Yep.
And then you guys work it out? I mean, if we
Well-
can do this in-house, then let's do it in-house.
Okay.
But I mean, let's table it for a week.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks.
Yep. I'll make a call to them. I'll have a discussion with
Well,
them.
if Jen feels that this is important in the process, then I'd like her to present that. If that's how, if she feels she needs this, then.
Well, it's not so, it's not her saying she needs it. If I told her to do it, I mean, I'm sure that there's a number of things that she's working on as well as that. But what I wanted was an independent contractor to come in, take a look at our accounts. That's also part of this. So in doing that, they're doing these other.
That's not what that letter reads.
No, I understand that, but if we were to have them to come in and just do a full-blown audit, they wouldn't do any of the things that they're doing. They're not gonna do, set up these policies and procedures, and we're still gonna be paying them in the tens of thousands of dollars. So what we did was, when they originally come in, nobody was in that meeting, was it? I can't remember who was in the meeting, but that's why I had them here last week. What they explained was they could go through and do these other tasks, and realistically, because they have access to all the accounts, you wouldn't need that full-blown audit. I just thought it was a better way to spend money, because we needed some outside eyes. Not that I'm saying that anybody did anything improperly or anything, but when you have a comptroller that's been in a position for 30 years, that's just good accounting practices to do. So I can have them come in and explain what the reasoning is behind this. That's not a problem. But it's not just these different, setting up the accounts for us and things like that. It's also having a look at our books and finding any discrepancies that they can, so that when we move forward, so 5 years from now, when Jennifer is in there and all of a sudden something's uncovered, then she's not going to be holding the bag for it. That's anybody. And also,
Oh, yeah, I'm all for
I wanted an account,
I'm all
when
for an
I
audit,
first came
absolutely.
in.
A real audit, I'm all for that, a true audit.
So, but we can table this and then we'll get some more further explanation on this. Okay. May I have a motion to appoint David, how do you pronounce his name?
Stenzi.
What is it?
Stenzi.
Stenzi.
Yeah.
Stenzi.
To appoint David Stenzi to the part-time, seasonal part-time title of recreation leader at an hourly rate of $16.51 effective June 6, 2022 through October 31st, 2022.
I'll move it. I'll second that.
Okay. Why don't you introduce Mr. Stenzi?
David Stenzi, graduate of SUNY Binghamton. He's going to be our part-time seasonal rec leader. I'm confident he'll do a good job and assist in helping to develop some programs for the summer and throughout the winter months, and lead those programs throughout at least the summer months, summer and fall. So, welcome, David.
Nice to meet everybody.
Introduce you individually afterwards.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Stenzi?
What'd you major at Binghamton?
My major was geography. My minor was urban planning.
Do you like pickleball?
Yeah, I love
Because
pickleball.
it seems like a lot of
I
people
played in
around
high
here.
school.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to declare the following parks and recreation department items surplus? A 2011 Exmark Laser, serial number 948122, string trimmers, serial number 29225471, and a steel 512-848449. Four mounted tires, Toyo Open Country LT 245s, and wheelbarrows, 2. Miscellaneous cordless hand tools, and they're on the agenda here. Scott's AccuGreen walk behind speed spreader, serial number 32247000730.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Is this just, oh, sorry.
How's that spreader walk ahead? Is that good or bad?
I mean, how old's this stuff?
How old's the spreader?
Not sure how old that one is, but they've got another one. There's another one there that's significantly bigger.
So these are well used.
These are, yeah, these are used and, you know.
I was thinking of going dumpster diving.
Leftover
Spreader.
stuff.
What do you do with all this equipment after we
Goes to auction.
post it?
I want that circular saw.
You have to buy that as a set. I don't know.
Get them all. Bring a big vehicle from
I was gonna
Not
say, I
really
think
sure
the
what
problem
you're gonna
is the
accomplish.
batteries
They
die.
don't want you to
Batteries.
use
They're an expensive piece
Yeah.
anyway.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so Mr. Kudaraskis wanted an executive session tonight to talk about the employment history of a specific employee. So may I have a motion to go into an executive session at 7:48.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're in executive session.